Okay, back from the void, there was Wi-Fi issues. What I can say is that the human being will reach a certain point where it will not feel human to itself, so it has to in some sense have a multidimensional acknowledgement of itself. The friends of destiny are pretty much the beings that are comfortable with the world. For me, I've had different views, but I've ultimately made this decision that this world is like a stage, and all living conscious beings are here to perform. And the big realization is that we're not just performing in front of our own self. We're not just performing in front of others, like locally, right? We're not just performing as a human being, as a citizen of a nation or a human being on earth. We're performing in the same place that the whole existence is performing. So you see, mankind is on the shoulder of giants, and humanity has been a lovely story, but we don't know how long this idea will remain. I mean, I was thinking about it and I'm like, yo, what's making us human? And it's our biological behavior. What if technology comes and automates everything, and human beings get bored of being like the body? Imagine their desires want them to be faster, 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 faster. It's not just cars that we want them to go faster. It's like suddenly people's minds are going to desire things faster. That means if there was a guy that wanted to be a king now, that king desires 1,000 kingdoms, not just one kingdom. And you know what it is? There was this idea of like, what if people are sheep and they're being taken to the slaughter, and before being taken to the slaughter, all the sheep are happy and they're like, yo, we're so taken care of. And I was thinking, yo, this goes beyond the idea of political systems. This goes on a universal, mystical, mysterious level of the nature, the actual story that's going on. Right? Like it's as if like that mysterious conspiracy idea where there's some people are like, yo, the light at the end of the tunnel is like the reincarnation again. And some people are like, yo, relax, man, it's just light. And so many reactions, many ways human beings are looking at things, liking and disliking things, being attracted and unattracted by so many things. There's so many things in this world. And you know what is rare? When we suddenly notice that something that usually isn't seen is seen. And there's even different ways of listening. This is something where I remember years ago, way before Mr.Within talks, a friend of mine took me camping. It was him and his older brother, and I, they invited me and I went along. And so when we went there was a moment where we were around the fire, and my friend's older brother looked up to him. My friend looked up at his older brother, and we're all there just staring at the fire. And he says that it's incredible how much you can learn from listening. And then his brother, who was older than him, and they were both very smart people, and his brother looks back at him and it's like, yeah, And I was just there listening. I was just like existing in that moment to hear that sentence, And to me, that opened up a dimension of perception, that how much am I actually receiving consciously the information from my senses? And let me tell you something about in the inner realms and living as a mind on this earth. You might suddenly, this might sound bizarre, but you might feel like you have forgotten how to be how to have your sense. Okay, no, let me say it differently. I'm trying to say that who you think you are right now is not just based on your beliefs, acceptance, decision. It is also based on the context you have journeyed through. So how you feel about the present is kind of like how you, as a conscious attention, literally like a gladiator in the gladiator arena defeating all the opponents, right? It's as if your consciousness has tunneled through endless self-simulations of yourself from the beginning of your life until now. And now you have come across this podcaster who's saying, hey, I've noticed that we're all tunneling through self-simulations, but why? The mysteries go deeper than our language can, in some sense, reveal. I asked myself, let's say everything people had ever imagined was true. Imagine there was like such an interstellar in a sci-fi, let's say fictional context, science fictional context. Imagine there was an interstellar being, and this interstellar being considered himself so powerful in all universes, in the whole cosmos, that he challenged not all beings in the universe to fight, but he challenged all them plus anything they could imagine to challenge him, even versions of himself. Do you understand? And this guy was in some sense so bored, this powerful being in the cosmos, that it started its infinite war with everything. Do you know? To realize he has defeated everything except himself, the one who was left undefeated. When I was younger, I would have moments where, karma would straighten me out. But you know what I realized when I was younger? I was like, why life? Why show me my lesser self? And little did I know that life was like, buddy, look at your lesser self first so you can look at your higher self at the end. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I trusted a feeling that felt more ancient than my modern analysis. Somebody says, but why, in the chat section. I have no clue what they're implying, but why? Yeah. See, this is the implication. If what is going on, and let's say everybody on the planet agrees that, all right, something is happening here, so we all agree that it's an event, a dynamic event, this life. Now, when somebody comes and says, in a world filled with shape and stuff and ideas, and is using language to say, yo, what if there's an attributeless presence simultaneously looking through everything? What I'm trying to say is, if there is here are the statements like code. If we're a physical being, it's kind of obvious what we need to do. If there's a chance that this event that is taking place here is not just physical or is non-physical, then a non-physical being does not need the limitations of a temporary being. Meaning that even though you are embodied, you find yourself in the Iron Man suit of a biological existential intelligence. This biological existential intelligence is how your head has stepped out of the door. That means it's as if there is a reason they said the eyes are the windows of the soul, because what is looking through is in some sense looking through the structure of its own creation, and sometimes the structure of our own creation is what we accept. You see, when somebody says attributeless, usually when we speak about these things through reverse. So people know what attributes are and they're like, yo, attributeless, something that has no qualities. And then the mystery of consciousness is getting deeper. And we're realizing that what we are is as poetic as a light beam. This might sound bizarre. Of course it's convincing that I have a biological existence right now. Of course it's convincing that I have a subjective experience where the free will navigates and pilots through. But why, to whom, or to what, or where are all these happening? Everybody, I wouldn't say is not afraid, but everybody is afraid of not knowing what to do. Not knowing. Because we have a relationship that is of a subjective distance. Let's say a person has to go in front of 1 million people and talk. Okay? So and imagine a person has to do this in 2 weeks from now. Okay? And in 2 weeks, imagine this person has to go, in some sense, give this talk in front of millions. And so what they do is, imagine they go into a nature, they sit down, they close their eyes, and in their mind they simulate. They constantly try to experience the experience in their mind. This is why Miyamoto Musashi was an incredible warrior, because he would fight in his inner realms as well. That means his training was not just physical. If we're a physical being, we must accept the way the physical reality is designed. If we're a non-physical being, we have to become responsible that we are putting in the value of what we actually experience. That means even though existence has a specific format, but how we experience our existence is our own choice as well. And so what is the point of communication in the void? To remind the species and everything that is present in the living realm of where it's going. Because what's the point of existence? You know, I can say for 30 years I wondered about this, and I was like, yo, what if the point of existence is to just get here? What if it's a dance? What if there is no reason? What if, the creator felt like it? What if nature felt like being something else? What is the rationality of having one style as a human being, let's say, and then suddenly completely shifting your clothing style into something else? So what is that? It's as if we are actually a creature that is not shaped, but it's using shapes to personify itself, to customize itself. I don't know if people know this, but in certain video games, You like customize your character, then enter the map of the video game, the world of the video game. So similarly, free will is here to customize yourself before you actually play the game externally. Our mind is not here to just make decisions externally. It is here to also internally review the external. You know, there's moments where I don't know if the soul is something that's being built up by the decisions of the attention, by where the attention goes, or in some sense it is something that is never here, like kind of, you know, ancient wisdom says to be in the world but not of it, right? So it's as if it's kind of like something that's like accessing here but not of it. Imagine a human being looking at an aquarium, right? They're seeing what's in the aquarium but they're not in it. You know, they're there but they're not of it. Do you see? And so the question is very bizarre, because it's kind of like God is said to be inconceivable, man is said to be made in the image of God, but the idea of the inconceivable means it can't have an image. So it's as if we are made in the image of the inconceivable, meaning that man is imageless. We are actually not a shaped entity. Even religion is indirectly saying this, I think. Do you know? And so what is the main idea? So how should 8 billion creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere behave? This is my starting point. And you know, I would say, I was like, okay, first thing is, it's like a check, okay? So first we got to create some sort of network where everybody's ears can tune in, which thanks to the internet, this has been done. Now the next thing is, like, the internet has been made and we're like, okay, whatever, even though Mr. Within feels it came too soon, the internet, but it's fine, it's here now. And so now that it's here, we got to use it, right? And so it's obvious that so many human beings, once they actually have physiologically survived and psychologically, you know, stabilized, they end up being actually beings that want to self-actualize through Maslow's hierarchy, right? So their self-actualization is to share the self they have been all along to the world that has never seen them. Okay, and this is why we have the concept of desperation or desperate behavior. Why? Because there is a loneliness behind the eyes, and if you cannot accept this, you will suffer. Why? Because I'm not the one who set it up. It's just like how we start. Bull world. When you're a baby, everything's unknown, like unknown being an unknown world. But then at some point, you notice yourself in the mirror, you individualize. Right, so it's all about just like, I don't know if for me, like one of the most epic feelings is like when I put on a suit or when I put on a nice jacket, right, a nice black jacket, you know. And so what will happen in the future, I see a vision of it now, is that various associations, new associations of human behavior are going to arise. And humanity is going to push itself to a sort of human heroism. This doesn't mean the world becomes a fucked up place and we gotta be heroes. No, this means that for the first time, just like Professor X in the X-Men saw the talent of all the mutants, if it was well directed, right? Similarly, if we zoom in on every person's DNA, we are technically different beings with different perceptions, raised in different conditions, therefore meaning that even though, forget everybody's intelligence level, just our cultivation of experience so far makes us so unique that in some sense it's as if we are capable of being prepared for something. Do you understand what that means? An advanced civilization in the future is going to be so incredible that imagine it suddenly decides a construction project, right? And every person who has never had a construction job, okay, but who's let's say interested in one, the advanced civilization comes and recruits you. Why? Because the advanced civilization doesn't say, yo, people are just financial entities that in some sense we gotta tax. No. The beauty of governance is in some sense elevate what you're governing beyond yourself. Do you understand? The idea is like, it's like the inner realms and outer realms are taking turns pushing each other higher constantly. Somebody in the chat section says, can you elaborate on how we can become more aware of this presence in our own lives? Very easy. Look at how you have accepted what you think life is. And look at it so long until a part of you feels like maybe you don't know. And the idea is not for me to be like, yo, what do you know, bro? Oh, you don't know this? Oh, you're not advanced. Get out of here. Like, it's not, I don't have that mentality. My view is like, nobody knows your ability. Nobody knows your potential. Nobody knows who you will be. And you're asking, like, the best way to know your presence is to physically look in the mirror. But if you want to know the presence of your mind, I had this sort of fierceness with it, where I was like, okay, I want to see actually what my mind is. So I had to pause it. I don't know if anybody's ever played like PlayStation or something, like you press pause and it resumes. The whole thing pauses. That's what meditation is. You just sit in a moment and you're like, okay, let me think as if everything I thought I am is wrong, and I'm going to look at it again and pause. And when you can hear the silence, that's when you've reached a point where you can trust your mind. You can at least trust how you can watch your thoughts. Because they come and go. It's very, like, because it hasn't been done before, it may seem fascinating. But really what's going on is the brain is subconsciously receiving rhythms all the time. We are a rhythmic entity, whether it's from our heartbeat, lungs, our whole body, kind of in, out, Like, this might sound bizarre, but when I was driving today, I was thinking of like the geometry of the human body. And I was thinking in some sense how we have like the chambers of the stomach, we have like the valves of the heart, and then we have like the mouth and our, other end. And so what it is I was like, yo, it's as if something enters the system, and then the system interacts with it, and then the system takes what it can from it, and then it leaves the system what is unnecessary. And so really what we need is a beautiful, efficient way that we can utilize the hidden value and potential behind people's lives. Because we're all actually, it's kind of weird, everybody's trying to climb one mountain, but it should be like everybody should be trying to climb 8 billion mountains, And it's as if I climbed a mountain and I saw others on it, and I'm like, yo, what am I doing? Is my life, similar to another? Then what's the point of having different DNAs? I mean, seriously, if we all started to imagine an ideological system cloned all of us to behave in a certain way. People don't understand. Power in the outer realms is through various intermediaries usually. I'm not talking about like economical power. I am talking about, it's like there's 8 billion creatures on this planet. They all have like their unique desires and wants, but not all of them have the same importance level on what they want. Okay? Like a thirsty person may want water, and a person who's just drank water may not want water. Do you understand? So there's also this sort of, everybody is thirsting for something. Or there was this show, Shingeki no Kyojin, I think it was the 2nd season. There was this character, Levi, where he figures out this bad guy was his uncle who raised him. And anyways, the uncle looks at him before he dies and passes him like this Titan needle or something. And he says, the guy's name is Kenny. the uncle who's dying, and he says everybody had to be drunk on something. And he wasn't talking about alcohol. He was saying that every human being had to occupy themselves with something, because they were left being responsible for the meaning of their own time, the meaning of their own energy, the meaning of their own life force. Because what is power is being capable to truly know or truly understand to some degree what we are. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. Really, it's like the sands of the hourglass are falling, you know. And at first I'm like, what are these sands? But now I understand it's like the time I have to solve the greatest problem of them all. What was truth in a changing world? For change is very equivalent to the divine will. I could totally see like early human beings being like, yo, something's changing everything around us, you know, and they're like, yo, it's the weather. And somebody was like, no man, it seems to be more than the weather. It's an incredible journey the human species has come to. We have experienced inefficient archetypes when it has come to leadership, and you know how I know this? Civilization 1.0 was like the first try like first attempt at civilization by the human species. Okay, it was like an unconsciously built, subconsciously built civilization. The reason I know that civilization 2.0 is possible is because all those people who are in power have not understood that if they were kind, they would have been remembered till the end of time. But because they have chosen to be cruel, they have actually contaminated their emotional being in this lifetime. That's what cruelty does, by the way. You become emotionally numb after some point. It's as if, yo, I've seen this before, why should I care? And that's where the savage descension into animalism. Like, you know, the idea is what's the point of evolving for 4.5 billion years if we still want to bite each other, if we still want to claw each other, you know? But guys, I appreciate the questions. Keep them coming. You know, I decided from the beginning that I will endlessly answer questions, even as many questions there are. So anyways, what can I say? What are we all doing here? Comment below. No, I'm kidding. Life is very beautiful because it holds unknown variables. And I thought if I knew everything, then what would the point of doing anything be? This is why all people who think knowledge is ultimately power. It is power, but it's weird. It's not that you get power from knowledge, you become power. You dehumanize. This is the reality. Anything that is not human that you take too seriously, you will dehumanize after some time. You like Star Wars, after some time you can become dehumanized. Because the idea is in what world is your mind walking in before your eyes open to see a world that world can be layered upon. We are free. In ways that we may not remember. You know, there was this metaphysical narrative I came across. It seemed to be inspired by, I don't know, yogic or ancient mystical thought. And it was this idea that before this life, it's kind of like eternal beings are forgetting their immortal memory to be mortal beings, and then they think this is to, in some sense, become one again. But in some sense, it's like there is a structure, just like you go to a city and the city has its own laws and systems and all that. It's like our species is living under, a planetary rock. We don't know the jurisdiction of what type of intelligence space may hold. Just because there's no form in it doesn't mean there's no jurisdiction. I remember, sometimes when I've been intoxicated like this is like, it's been like an alarm, like my intuition. But there's been times where I go, like when I walk somewhere, it's not just that I get I'm just seeing what the space is. I get a feeling, right? And there's this type of feeling that I have been acquainted with from the beginning of my life, a sort of intuitive trust, that I remember. It's like there was somewhere I was going and I was trying to find the bathroom in this building, and there was this door, and I just had this feeling, like as if my intuition was saying, like, okay, not here, go there, go to another door, and it was as if it, like, something in this life, if we trust it, it reveals itself as having always been here. The mystery of reality surpasses personality. This is why people speak about the attributeless, how attention has an instantaneous truth to its being, regardless of a comparison to an additional moment. Anyways, thank you for listening. Share, subscribe, comment, like, join. And in the chat section, write down what the Friends of Destiny poetically means to you. Much blessings and namaste. Rise, mankind, rise.